this thing. This is very important in mathematics. It's everywhere. It's throughout mathematics, this is. So it's used all the time. But the problem is that so many people, younger people, or even all through life, there's some people don't understand it, don't believe it, and it makes no sense to them. So I'm going to show you why it must be true. And I'm going to prove it. I might write it in a more friendly way, like this. Hold on. So this is a neat way of writing that. Under here, I've written down some rules for numbers. Really, they're the way that numbers behave. And this means that for any number x at all, any number at all, multiplied by 0, you get 0. And this is really the definition of the negative. So for any number y, there is a number, it's negative, such that when you add them you get 0. So what I'm going to do is since these work for any number, well, if we insist on these, then this number, minus 1, if we insist that minus 1 is a number, it must obey these. Right. So I'm going to use these, I'm going to use these two and put minus 1 in, and then play around with it and show you that this is the case. Hold on, I've got some notes here that I've forgotten. Here. So, if we make x, we say, okay, I want the example of this to be this with minus 1. We have minus 1 times 0 equals 0. So if we insist that minus 1 is a number, it obeys this, and here it is written that way. And then I'm going to say, if we insist that this works for 1, y equals 1, we have, I'll write that now, 1 plus minus 1 equals 0. So what I'm going to do now is combine these two. And because this quantity is equal to 0, I can exchange that 0 for this. And here we go. So I'm going to write this out, this equation, with this in there, replacing that. So minus 1, that's that minus 1, times, let's put some brackets, 1 plus minus 1 equals 0. That's that 0. All I've done is exchange this for that 0. So now I'm going to multiply this minus 1 by this and then this. And of course this plus sign here will comes down into the next line. So minus 1 times 1 minus 1 times 1, and then there's this plus sign, minus 1 times minus 1, there's the equals, and there's the 0. So that means here, if I write this a bit, there's this is 1 times minus 1 is that, plus minus 1 squared equals 0. Now because this is an equation, what that means is that it's true we can do anything to one side, but we must also do that same thing to the other side. And that's what an equation is, and they're very useful in proving things. So what I'm going to do here, now is add. I can add 1 to both sides of this equation. So there's this minus 1, and then adding the 1 plus 1, and then there's this plus sign, and then this minus 1 squared equals, remember I've got to add the 1 to this one side now, this side. Minus 1 plus 1 is 0. Plus minus 1 squared equals plus 1. So minus 1 squared equals plus 1. So what I did was put a minus 1 in for this equation, for x equal to minus 1, and I used this equation for y equals 1. Done.